In the early hours of Sunday morning, the £25 million mansion of Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska was squatted.
This building is being occupied because it belongs to a man named Oleg Deripaska. My Russian's quite bad, I can't pronounce his name properly, but he's an oligarch who was it belongs to a guy named Oleg Deripaska, who was an oligarch who was sanctioned by the British government last week. He has direct ties to Putin and once referred to himself as Putin's favorite oligarch. He also is connected to an investment firm, EM Plus, whose chairman had to resign because he was a quite senior Tory politician. So we are squatting this building as a form of protest and solidarity with the Ukrainian people, with the Russian people who suffer under Putin, and all people who suffer under war.
As the protesters said there, Deripaska has been sanctioned by the government for his close ties to Putin. Like many of Russia's oligarchs, he got rich by taking ownership of previously state-owned assets after the collapse of the Soviet Union, so essentially stealing from the Russian people. He ended up owning Russia's largest aluminium firms. In short, he's a bad guy who's been treated with a light touch as he's enjoyed the luxuries offered in London's West End. And in this case, he also got the support of the Metropolitan Police. They had a heavy-handed response to the protest. So as you can see here, loads of police vans rocked up to the squat. That was just hours after it had been occupied. It was a scene that raised eyebrows among anyone who's had to call the Metropolitan Police recently. Normally you'll wait an hour for them to turn up just to get a crime number. In this case, you've got tens of cars and vans all there just to protect this oligarch's mansion. They deemed this a priority. And then we can see reams of riot police flooding in. This operation must have cost a lot of money. These things don't come cheap. Speaking from the balcony, as those riot police were going in, one of the protesters told the Press Association, "All our group made peace with arrest because this was always one of the options. I'm ready to take the consequences for something I believe." Their plan had been to open up the mansion to refugees. And in a message to Russian oligarchs, the squatters said, "You occupy Ukraine, we occupy you." So really well thought out protest. And the police, for some reason, treated this as an absolute priority. They had to get all of the cops down there in full riot gear. These people couldn't possibly be allowed to squat this building for more than 6 hours. Very strange. It does raise questions about their priorities when you see how they have dealt with other situations. I should add, I do sometimes find it a little bit crass when people sort of point to protesters being abused by police in Russia and saying this is actually what it's like in Britain, because I do think, the costs of protesting in Russia are much higher than the costs of protesting in Britain. And yes, that will be even the case after the terrible, I have to say it's terrible, but the police and crime bill, when that is implemented, it's still not going to make us, a society where holding up a blank sign gets you arrested. So I do think we should be careful when we say, that's what's going on in Russia, but it's the same here anyway. No, the costs of protesting in Russia are a lot higher than the costs are here. But also, our police here have their priorities massively wrong. Let's end this section of an interesting fact about Deripaska. Both George Osborne and Peter Mandelson have enjoyed hospitality on his very expensive yacht. And news of the context sparked criticism because as European Union Trade Commissioner, Mandelson had been responsible for the decision to cut aluminium tariffs from 6% to 3%, a decision that had benefited Deripaska personally. This is the new Labour set. This is what they were getting up to. And there was speculation on Twitter today, which I thought was very interesting, that one of the reasons the police may have been so keen to evict the squatters so quickly was because of what compromising documents they might have found in Deripaska's house. Now, I couldn't possibly comment on mere speculation. I just, personally thought that was interesting as at least a possibility to raise, nothing more than that.